Are you a gamer? Have you experienced this? Elements of a game bleeding into your actual life? Yo. Hi, you're with Scott. This is Battery Exhausted, my channel. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear because this is in mono. Yeah, I decided to try a trial and with limited technical knowledge to just continue running the stream while I upload. And it might work, it might not. It's not new news, but it is new news in a way. This is from BBC Bite Size, part of Learn and Revise. But it came up in the news today. So, what are game transfer phenomena? Or maybe it should read, what is game transfer phenomenon? If you're a gamer, whether casual or pro, the pandemic may have given you the opportunity to spend more time than ever in your favourite virtual worlds. So this seems to be one of these written by a non-gamer. Like an adult writing a story about something that it believes to be childish, like a sort of patronising article. But it's okay, let's go ahead. According to YouGov stats published in November 2020, 4 in 10 gamers have been playing games more during the pandemic than before it. YouGov is a polling website that was put together by the business minister Nadhim Zahawi and a few other people. So one of our ministers, he runs a website that produces statistics, and those statistics shape the political discussion. Anyway, 4 in 10 gamers have been playing more. That's not even news, of course. Everyone's a gamer, whether they call themselves a gamer or not. Everyone's played a game, and we're all doing it a bit more during lockdown, fair enough. There's a picture there of some children, just to really patronise us gamers. Games are designed to be immersive and interactive, which makes them an enticing way to pass time during lockdown. With games, you're actively participating in and affecting another world other than your own. But this activity, along with other factors, can lead to strange things happening, such as elements of the game bleeding into your actual life. Are you a gamer? Have you experienced this? Elements of a game bleeding into your actual life? Your real life? Obviously, when you're playing the game, it is real life. You're really there playing the game. But have you ever caught a glimpse of something moving in the corner of your eye and worried it was an enemy from a fighter game you played the night before? An enemy from a fighter game? Written by a gamer, this one, isn't it? Or heard the sound effects from your favourite MMO in your head when you're going about your day? I'll tell you what I've experienced. I used to play a lot of FIFA. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Yeah, I used to play a lot of FIFA. And when I was going to sleep at night, I'd close my eyes, and the isometric view, the sort of framework that you play on, the way my characters would run, that feel of that isometric view would be just there behind my eyes. The main directions I would press on the joypad. Your controller, you push. I've got a controller around here somewhere. I don't need it to show you this. You push up and down. Oh, just big face it. Let's big face it. You're eating ice cream. That sounds nice. They do vegan ice cream. Let's big face it. And you push with your thumbs. You push like in the diagonal direction to go towards goal, and then when you're defending, you come back in a diagonal direction. So my controllers are all worn out in that plane, and the top of the directional stick is all worn out on that angle. So sometimes at night I can see this movement in these planes, and I feel to push with my thumb when I'm after a long FIFA sesh. So I do experience gamer transfer phenomena in that aspect on FIFA. And there's another one that I experience as well, isn't there? I should have written this down before I start. Do you experience any gamer transfer phenomena? Have you ever seen anything from the game in your mind as you're falling asleep? Oh, that's it, Fortnite. On Fortnite, the wheel that tells you the information on the HUD, if there's footsteps over there or footsteps over there or gunfire from over there, comes up on a little visual. And after I finish playing Fortnite, when I'm about to go to sleep, every single time as I close my eyes I can see footsteps. When I hear a noise, my brain triggers the footsteps in my mind somewhere, and I see them. It's so strange. But yeah, after a heavy grind of Fortnite, I see those footsteps. And that's called game transfer phenomenon. It's a phrase coined by Dr Angelica B. Ortiz de Gortari. Let's have a look at Dr Angelica. She's the one that's been studying the game transfer theory. We can participate in the survey. 15 years of experience of examining the impact of interactive media. So she started investigating game transfer phenomena for her master thesis at Stockholm University in 2010. So it's been around for 10 years now. So the news, 10-year-old news, but still working on it, still studying it, researching it. Nordic schools, Bergen, Norway, providing services to developers. Swedish. Interesting because I've made a film in Sweden that we look at and talk about sometimes. So that's Dr Angelica, and this is game transfer phenomena. The transfer of experiences from the virtual to the physical world that can manifest as altered sensorial perceptions, sensations, automatic mental processes, behaviours and actions with video game content. So it's more than me just seeing things. It's processes and actions and sensory perceptions. Interestingly, automatic mental processes. So if there's something you're doing over and over again in the game, if you're constantly, maybe the build fighting in Fortnite, or a certain number of keybinds that you have to press in the right order on Warcraft, you might be automatically mentally processing those things after you play the game when you're finished. Put more simply, she says, experiences from the game, what gamers see, what they hear, sometimes what they do, transfer into real life context. The effects of GTP have been known for some time. Tetris was an incredibly popular game in the 90s in which you would, I don't have to explain what you do in Tetris. I love it. An article written by a non-gamer. Only a non-gamer. And I'm saying this, maybe this person is a gamer and their editor has told them to, broaden it out or something like that. I don't know. But what kind of person would explain Tetris? Is there anyone on the planet who has not experienced Tetris and requires it explained to them? The Tetris Effect was first written about in 1996 as some players experienced seeing falling blocks after playing the game, or imagining themselves fitting things into the real world together in a similar way to the game. There's a huge range of ways GTP can manifest. You can have visual experiences, but it's different to imagining the game content and purposefully picturing it in your mind's eye, as you might when trying to recall something. One phenomena that motivated her to continue studying GTP was when a gamer told her they saw health bars above people's heads. This is something she saw crop up a few times, as well as gamers seeing answer choice menus when they were talking to other people. That must be incredible, mustn't it? You played so much of a computer game, like so much Fallout, that when you speak to somebody you get options. This is the news. Another common experience is getting earworms. So when the music sounds from the game get stuck in your head, sometimes gamers assume they actually left the console on because it's very vivid. And I've had that, definitely. I've heard, it's more with music with me. I used to play the decks, and I still do sometimes. And I used to go to raves, sometimes play at them, sometimes just be at them. And after 8 hours of listening to banging drum and bass, when you get in the car and drive home, you're like, who's left the radio on? And it's the banging drum and bass is still going. And you get home and you're like, are the neighbours playing banging drum and bass? And it's just still going. There's also a variety of bodily and behavioural experiences that gamers can have. For example, involuntary movements of your finger when you see something from the game or something related to the game, or moments of disassociation, moments where they think they're in-game and perform some action. Do you know what? I think this is really important when we're thinking about the future of gaming, like virtual reality, because if you're getting these little bleeds into real life, these repeating actions, these mental processes repeating when you're just playing a console, imagine what it's going to be like when you've got your full hat on. I've got me. No, not today. Not today. Not today. I had to edit Johnny Depp out of the true binaural ASMR upload of Sleep. And then I just thought, F it, I'll just put him in. Because it happened. He was really here. I just thought we'd just put him in. So let's see if they enjoy that on true binaural ASMR. They won't. They won't. I managed, it doesn't matter what I do, I upload something, I lose subscribers. The only thing they will like is if I just do the old Whisper videos. Angelica's research features a wealth of shared experience between gamers. Her study on visual experiences in 2014, for example, 650 56 experiences were collected from 483 gamers. So that's nearly all of them. That's like, you know, a large chunk of them across 52 forums. So forums, that's a problem. That's a problem. When we're talking about scientific research, it is important to see where the research comes from and how it's correlated. A forum is useless. It's I don't know what the word I was looking for is. Basically, what it means is, though, that anyone can write anything in a forum. You can't validate it. That's the word. It's not very valid. You can't validate it. You can't necessarily go back to these people and cross-reference what they've said with any evidence. They might be under usernames, fake names. They might be the same person 3 times. They might be somebody having a laugh with you and just writing any old thing. And it's very difficult to use anecdotal evidence from a forum to build up a set of data. And if you have, then the data you've correlated might not be all that valid, and you won't know which bit is valid and not. You can't pick it out and say, oh, that one was from a username that was strange. Like, it just all is anecdotal. What's less obvious, however, is why any of these things happen. Anecdotal, sorry, I should just say this as well. Anecdotal just means that, like, when I was telling my story about the things that happened to me, that's anecdotal. It's just a one-time story of something somebody said. Anecdotal is not particularly useful because I might have been getting my FIFA visions because of another reason. Like, I might have been doing something else in my life to trigger that, and nobody would know because it's not a scientific discuss. It's not. I'm not in a lab. I'm just saying what happened to me. So it might be that I had a car crash and it damaged my brain, and now whenever I play computer games, I see them for hours afterwards, and that wouldn't be recorded in the anecdotal evidence on the forum. So it's just too vague, it's non-scientific. What's less obvious, however, is why any of these things happen. But Angelica has a few theories. This troubles me again. It's great that Angelica is studying this and developing theories, but it seems to me in the modern age that when you have ideas about the way your brain works, the best thing to do is get you in an MRI machine. We need to know what's happening in the brain when these things are happening in order to establish some sort of base theory, I believe. But she will suggest theories, but without having any way of testing or evidencing them. They're just ideas. In particular, the frequency with which you perform certain actions in the game seems to Angelica to be quite important. So again, this is her research is showing, like, she's got lots of anecdotal evidence to say that if you do something a lot, you get these things happen. But they haven't gone in a lab and sat some people down playing FIFA for 10 hours, and some people for 1 hour, and some people not at all, and some people for 16. You know, they haven't done a proper test and found out that frequency equals what was it called? GTP. They haven't done that. So that's a shame, because they could have proved that scientifically. It's just an idea at the moment, just something somebody thought up and said. Video game activities are quite repetitive. You make progress by trial and error, and every action you do has some feedback. And that's interesting because it's very varied, isn't it? There are games that deliberately don't have this as a feature. There are very few games that don't have trial and error and feedback, but there are games that don't have that as a feature, that don't ever want you to die, that don't want you to feel frustrated. And at the other end of the spectrum, there's Dark Souls. But, you know, there's options there. They don't all have to be like that. My GTP experiences from FIFA were not because of trial and error, but because of repetition of an organised, strategic sort of, I'm moving the ball in these places, following a strategy that I repeat over and over. And that reassertion of that thought process pattern repeating. I mean, I imagine you get a GTP experience from physical games as well. If you've been hitting the hockey ball over and over. If David Beckham's been doing his free kicks all night, when he goes to bed, he probably imagines himself doing a free kick. I don't think it would be limited to just computer games, because computer games are only one form of gaming, and they are a physical, mental, interaction. But so is football. You know, you physically and mentally think about what you're doing to kick that ball. In the same way as you're tapping these buttons, you're kicking that ball. So, yeah, you know, it's a very vague and obvious statement there, just to say some things that are repetitive, and in some games you get trial and error feedback. This process, she says, can invoke very strong and real emotions in gamers, which can potentially have an impact on those actions imprinting on your subconscious. This is especially true of modern games that are increasingly more lifelike. And again, this is just an idea she's come up with. When video games are more realistic, the contents of the game and experiences in the game become more emotionally charged and they're more memorable. I don't agree. I don't agree. You can get really realistic and really memorable experiences in games, yeah, but I think they're part of the development of the game. I think they're part of the storytelling, the writing, the craft, the narrative. So something that happened to me in a game that was not necessarily the best graphics can still be really emotionally charged and memorable. In fact, I think it was more so because I was young and impressionable when I played those games. And when I was young and impressionable, I didn't have Fortnite and things that were more like Skyrim, more realistic. I had less realistic games, but still emotionally charged. Ocarina of Time would be a great example. Probably not the best realistic graphics in Ocarina of Time, but one of the most memorable and emotional charged experiences in gaming that I've had, probably because it was so new, so amazing. I was so young and impressionable. I don't know. But it may be that the more realistic, the more emotionally charged things are. Certainly if we get into virtual reality and things feel like they're happening to you, that will be the case, I imagine. But again, it's something we can learn and measure. We can question people about how emotionally charged they felt when playing different titles. We can gather the data on that, but it hasn't been gathered by Angelica, who's been studying this for 10 years. It's up to her. If Angelica says, if something's more memorable, it can help facilitate the transfer of the experience from the game to your everyday life. And again, I disagree with that. I've played really memorable experiences in games, like fighting a dragon in Skyrim, but that didn't bleed into my everyday life. In fact, it was the more mundane, it was the more subtle that bled into my everyday life. The repeated actions that I was always doing, the passing the ball out to the wing on FIFA and then taking it down the line and swinging it in. I'll tell you what else triggers me is I have to be hyper vigilant and aware when I'm playing a game like Fortnite. When those footsteps go off, it triggers me into a hyper vigilance. It makes me go, oh, the footsteps, oh. And that's why I believe, anecdotally, that's why when I put the game down, I hear a noise and it hits me in the hyper, and I see the footsteps sign, is because it's about hypervigilance. So that's not about something being memorable. And maybe it is more memorable when you're hypervigilant and you're perceiving a threat. Maybe it is. But that's something that neuroscientists and psychologists could discuss and prove or disprove. Not something I'm just going to suggest is an idea, is fact. And yeah, it's not for me about something being memorable, like the dragons in Skyrim. Like the intro sequence to Skyrim is probably one of the most memorable sequences many people have played, but that doesn't transfer into your daily life. Whereas maybe the shooting of the bow mechanic or the casting of a spell mechanic might, because you're repeating it so much, in my opinion. But we could learn. We could do two groups where they do experience-based and repetition-based, and a third group where they don't do either, control. Young gamers also seem to have found more frequent GTP experiences than adults. This is vague again, because young gamers more than adults, but does that mean that young gamers play more than adults, so they get these experiences more? Is it that young gamers are more exposed to newer games and the newer games do it more because they don't play the old titles so much and the adults have? Is it that if you play those old titles and work your way through an increasingly complex series of games, your brain gets used to these stimuli and stops the GTP because it's saying, oh, hang on, wait, this is just a game. You're used to games. This is just a more sophisticated one. And younger people don't have that gradual progression into gaming. They're just thrown straight into the most realistic games. Is it that? We don't know, because we're not finding out. The consequences also depend on the context and the circumstances. Seeing Tetris blocks, unbelievable. Is this written by someone who's ever seen a computer? Tetris, but they're tetraminos, mate. Tetraminos. Who's written this? It doesn't say. What terrible journalism to not offer you the name of the journalist that's written it. Seeing tetraminos when you go to sleep is wildly different to seeing them when you're driving. Yeah. So the main goal of the research has been to talk about it, she says, which is a shame because the main goal of research should have been to find out about it, to research it through scientific methods. But so you tell me what you think. Have you experienced any game transfer phenomena in your time? Have you ever had a game transfer? I'll tell you what, I better move the chat to see that you're not. Oh, boom. Why does it do it to me? Why does it do it to me, that chat? Nice to see you, capital K. Nice to see you, Callum. Every now and then I pop back and it's been going, look. My sister's seen it all the time after Skyrim and Zelda. Looking for the article and translating and reading it. So the article, see, I could have helped you with that. I could have helped you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I think it's important that I, maintain this. See, I've helped you now. Stayed up all night playing games in the PC room before. I felt like the enemies in the game I played all day on my way home appeared on the street. Now that's heavy. That's a big one, isn't it? 50 minutes old chat. Oh my days. It's like my news. My news is 10 years out of date, and now my chat's 10 years out of date. You could send me a bleeding carrier pigeon, couldn't you? I could tie these messages around people's... Oh, here we go. I've got the window open. I can see out the window. There's a fella going round. I'll do big face now for this. You'll like this. There's a fella... I don't know if you will. There's a fella going round, and he's handing out leaflets. And when he comes and tries to put one in my door, he's going to have a right game because I don't want people putting leaflets in my door because of COVID. So I've got my letterbox kind of stuffed up. So if you hear him having a right game out there, trying to shaft thing through the letterbox and not being able to, and it falls out on the street, and I put it in the bin later. He didn't even try the letterbox. He just saw that it was all jafted off. So we've done our first news story ever, and we've had a little talk about it, and we've raised an issue: game transfer phenomena. As we've learned, it's been going since 1996, so it's not new news. We're talking about gaming, and we've brought up a new idea: game transfer phenomena. My lovely chatters, my Ganji Puko Warrior crew, they've all experienced it. You've all experienced it. All of you. Look at that. Journalists might be at the end. Okay. I'll have a look at the end. They're bloody not. No one wants to put their name to this rubbish. Do you know why? Actually, I'll tell you why. I can tell you why this is not written by a journalist. And I know it's not written by a journalist. Look at it. It's too verbose. It's too long. It's there's too much in it. That's not a news article. There's way too much in that. I'll tell you who wrote this. She's probably got an agent that she needs. Like, she's looking to promote herself and get work from that. She wants to give talks. She wants to write a book. She wants to work with developers. They make media friendly press releases, and they send them to the news people so that news people don't have to write their own news. They can just republish or select a few elements of and republish a press release. That's part of the news cycle. We did the news and it turned into a rant.